when we start the talk around mental health these days. So we'll take it forward, and especially with the younger generation joining in and becoming a part of this movement, it is reaching bounds more and more. Like whenever I meet these young girls from college and schools also, and they talk about some things, and I always feel like, oh, I never had that kind of opportunity, or maybe I was not that much aware at that time because things were not talked around. So that is obvious that we have come a lot of way forward, but we need to go more. Like there's no end to how much more forward we can go actually. But at least in a lifetime, working to somewhere spread this and like make a mark that okay, you did something that was valuable not only for yourself but to at society at large. Now, when we'll talk about some serious things regarding mental health, like what? First of all, do you know that WHO in 2030 said, like in 2030, depression is going to be one of the most common causes of death. Imagine how like problematic, scary, and threatening that is for us, that we know something is going to happen and somehow we can't do anything about it. Like what to do actually. So, and this is what they projected way before the pandemic, and we all have seen that COVID has affected each and every point in our life, be it our menstrual health, be it our mental health, be it our physical health. Obviously, everything is affected. I don't think there's anybody who's been left out or does not has faced the brunt. I say this line a lot that the people, like there were only numbers last year, but unfortunately that numbers have converted to faces this year. Nobody amongst us is a person who hasn't known anybody who has had not had COVID, or unfortunately not heard of a death of a close family member. So that is very disheartening. Hence, this is the data that was projected way before COVID happened, somewhere I think in 2018. So we are expecting that studies are yet to come to this happen earlier. And especially with COVID, a lot of things that changed or that happened are that people started talking about mental health. They were alone, they were at home, so they became more aware that what is happening. Do we really need to pay attention for this? And is it this something that is really going to help us out in the future, or is it something that might affect me in long run? So obviously we have to start the conversation now, because the earlier the better. We have seen this with COVID. Prevention is obviously better than cure. That stay at home, wear your mask. Similarly, if you're more aware, if you have more talks around it, so what is one thing that you can do is that you can identify a lot of problems in their very budding stages. What happens in that is you diagnose early, you treat early, and the duration of treatment, the whole course, it is shorter. Once, if the problem starts increasing and spreading a lot, then it becomes difficult both with therapy and medication to contain it, constrain it, and like it gets difficult for both the person. Even the patients get tired. I don't want to take medicines. I don't want to do this much therapy. Hence, it becomes problematic at a certain level. That we all will agree that yes, this is somewhere really problematic. Now, I would like to ask, there are so many people who joined the summit. How many of you frequently take leaves for your physical health? I'm sure a lot of people are like going to agree, okay, I have a stomach ache, I have a headache today, somebody in my family is not well, I'll go to, okay, I am going to see the doctor today, I have a dentist appointment. It is not that rare. It is common for you to seek sick days for yourself. A lot of people have done that in offices, colleges, you do that. But again, my second question, how many of you have taken leave for your mental health? It's really hard to, I will really love to see people commenting here in the chat that how many of you really went to your boss, went to your employer and said that, I'm not feeling good mentally. Can I take a day off? Like, I have good anxiety issues today. I will not be able to make it to work. It takes, first of all, courage on your part to come up with this and say this to your employer. And secondly, your company and the place you work in is friendly enough to be like, okay, yeah, we allow. It's not even about allowing, but yeah, they are that kind of positive behavior, that they encourage such kind of things, that okay, this is a behavior we encourage, and we think people should take mental health days off, that when they feel like, okay, I'll not be able to do work productively, I should stay at home today and concentrate on myself. So we need to take these talks forward, so that myself, like my physically and my mental, stays in a balance, and I am the best version of myself every day. I'm sure a lot of you who are watching and listening can comment and say that yes, this is something that we are trying to strive or achieve for the future, so that it is relatively easier for us. We are doing all this so that we can change the norm future, so that whenever we go forward from here, our future generations, they are like, okay, people before us did something, that we have this kind of privilege today, that we can go ahead and tell this to our employer that I'm not feeling good. I just take some days off for my mental health. Now, can you tell me in the comment section, what are the reasons that stop you from seeking such sick days? Anybody, like, why don't you want to say this? What are the frequent problems that you feel that happen with you? I see some chats. I just read out what everybody, all the guys have to say. Very good answers. Yes. Stigma, most common complaint that people have. Lack of acceptance, I agree. Lack of knowledge, true. A lot of people are seeing productive anxiety also. Ignorance and misinformation, completely. Amazing answers. Yes. People think you are weak. I agree. So yes, these are the basic reasons why you don't feel, or you somewhere are taken aback that, okay, if I say I'm having a bad mental health day, will it affect my employment status? Will my employer think that, oh, they are not strong? Are they weak people that we have employed and who are not able to work productively? Very, very common answer. Yes, we are not ready to accept. I completely agree with people who are commenting here. Lack of knowledge, very big thing. That's why I'm saying we need to change the narrative this way forward, so that when we become those employers, those bosses, 10, 15 years down the line, we have that open mindset. Yes, we're trying to change the mindset of people who are already there. But at least, see, change does not happen like this. Change happens slowly, gradually, when you initiate all these conversations in a normal phase. Like when you're sitting in a group of friends, just when you say, I have a headache, I think I'm feverish, I'm not feeling well. Just make it a normality to also talk about, I think I'm feeling anxious and I'm not able to concentrate. See how there's a pin drop silence around you and people have nothing to say. When we, all of us, start talking about this in a normal manner, then only we can normalize this. Ki haan, aise baat kar sakte hain. This is how you usually talk about it. So yes, don't ever stay away or take a step back that what will people say. There might be places where you have to be on your tiptoes, but try generally, especially in family, close net circle, friend circle, try talking about it. Maybe once or twice people don't pay heed to it, but maybe next time, times come forward, they start accepting, and maybe the other person who's actually troubled at that time, they have courage with you coming out and saying that I have this complaint. They might come out to you and both of you can get professional. The main reason that we are encouraging this conversation is so that people come and seek help. You can't like go to anybody's house and force them to take help. Unless somebody comes to you, it's very difficult for you to reach people. So even with, I am saying, the all therapies that we have, all the medications that we have, we really can't help people until they come up to us. So many a times, even if your family is unaware of this, the family also can't get you the right treatment. And even if the family is unaware, then it's completely a different scenario. How will they get you treatment for something that they don't know you're suffering from? Completely agree with people. Yes, these are a lot of informations, a lot of misconceptions that we have regarding our mental health. Do you guys also feel that if somebody opens about these things, you become kind of a topic about office gossip? Like people in groups talking about, she has anxiety. She took a day off for like this way, and she's going to a psychiatrist for help. She has depression. So a lot of time people have come up and told that, please, can you give me a word where I can tell people what I really have? And they're not ready to take word as depression and anxiety because they feel they have such negative connotations attached to them that what if I tell people this and they'll start judging me? So very innocently people ask, ma'am, please tell me something what I have. Why am I going to the doctor? And just tell me one word. So why can't you tell this? They're like, people start judging. So, but no, sometimes when it is really severe and you feel your work is being affected, then we give you words like that. Okay, tell this. Until you're fine, go and tell this. But this kind of behavior we have to change. As I said, one person coming forward and talking about this, even if not for yourself, maybe you're just feeling transitory anxiety. Okay, exam is here, I'm feeling anxious. Something, my promotion is coming, I'm feeling anxious. You might just talk about that anxiety. And imagine the person sitting in front of you that actually suffering from an anxiety disorder. They hear you and they are like, okay, if she can do it, he can do it, I can do that too. Maybe they share and the person who's actually in need of help gets the right help. We don't talk about men mental health. Like, you will be surprised to know women tend to have depression in 3:1 ratio than men. So nearly more than twice. But do you know men have 2 times more suicide ratio than women? Why? This is something you actually think about, that why is that I'm seeing it like this? Is it really that men have depression in a lesser prevalence, or is it it's reported or not? Why? So yes, both of them are the real issues. First of all, the society has conditioned men in this kind of a way that be a man, you need to be strong. You get it? We hear these things a lot that you are a man up. Why are you being sad? You have to take care of the family. Why are you feeling anxious? Boys don't have these kind of things. Boys don't cry. Why are you crying? Are you a girl? Tell me what other things you have heard about. Men, please come here and tell us what kind of this toxic masculinity traits we hear day in and day out, which are so wrong. You see little guy, little boys, when you everyone around you starts telling you things like this, what happens is with you, this changes your processing of emotions here. So when you grow up, even if you have an issue, you would not want to go ahead and tell this to people around you because you feel that I'm not manly enough. Or you might feel like, what will people think that I'm not strong enough if I open up about this thing? Hence, this is a lot of reason that translates directly into more suicide numbers than depression numbers. It's not like men are having depression way less than women. Yes, they have somewhere less than women. That again has a lot of social, cultural, emotional beliefs. But men don't come forward. Secondly, due to this inadequate emotional processing, I would like to say what happens is that females very normally they have these complaints like feeling sad, mood swings are happening. They can cry out easily because it's fine for women to cry. Like, she's a crybaby, let her cry. Though even if they are processing their emotions in that. But when it comes to men, we see that depression usually presents in form like decreased concentration in work, just having a low appetite, just having a low libido, having difficulty in sleeping. Why? Is their presentation different? No. Why is that so? Because they don't know how to process their emotions. Nobody told them since the beginning that it's okay for you to cry. It's okay to accept that I am sad. It's okay to accept that I feel low. But no, how do they then, due to this emotional processing problems that somewhere due to society problems, cultural problems, growing up, emotional factors, they start expressing their sadness in anger. Very commonly, men will come and say, I feel not angry and I don't know why I'm angry and who I'm angry at. This might just be a presentation of how they are expressing what they are feeling. Depression can be presented in n number of forms. That's why we say it's not like a one stitch like fits all. Very tailor made. Everybody, it's even if in two people in the family have the same complaints, it won't hit you the same. So different for everybody because you never know who feels what. Personality type, family structure आपका कैसा है, are there any people supporting you in the family or not? This is not. So how can we change this? Whenever you have a young boy in your family, you have a smaller cousin, you have a nephew, future when you have kids of your own, start promoting this kind of behavior. Many a times when couple come to us for therapies, for treatment, these are some lines I tell them when they bring a little kid along with them. Do you frequently tell your boy not to cry? Do you tell them that you hit like a girl? Do you tell them to be strong? Please stop saying words like this. And they are sometimes confused that we came for ourselves and why is she telling us things like this for our son? Because until unless we change the narrative everywhere, this is not going to change. Men really need to come forward and we need to be supportive and accepting of this fact. So change something within yourself also, that your boyfriend, your brother, your father, your cousin, anybody can come up to you and they say, hey, sis, I'm not feeling good. Can you help me? I think I'm not able to concentrate these days. What can this be? Never ever shy away from getting a professional help, because what else can happen? नुकसान क्या होगा इसमें आपका? What can you lose? Just one consultation. That much, I think, privileged enough people who are really privileged enough, you spend this much on one person. That much amount just taking care of your mental health is a big deal. What if it was just a thing that you were thinking about and it's not a professional, like clinical disorder? At least you'll get the satisfaction that, okay, this was just something I was overthinking. So at least you're relieved that something is not happening with me. Encourage, and women also, be accepting of this fact that whenever males are coming to you, don't rush off and saying, oh, be strong. You have to support me. I've seen a lot of time when there are many women in the family and less male members, like brother is there and they have this kind of responsibility. Oh, you be strong, you have to take care of sister in the future. Who will take care of? And many times girls have retaliated saying, why, I don't need his help, I can do that enough. That is also something good to say, but the best thing to say is that we are here for each other. He's gonna help me, I'm gonna help him, and it's not just about one person doing that, it's about both of us doing that. Any other complaints that you guys have about how we can change the narrative, please send them here. I'm seeing the comment section. I'll surely be able to reply to whatever questions I can hear. Yes, you're right. It is a very common talk in the Indian family. I think not even Indian family. This is a more of a South Asian, like global issue as per se, 100%, but more over a South Asian issue. Here we have a lot of gender biases, and many a times when we talk about feminism, we feel it's only about women. No, it's about equality, equal share, equal work everywhere. You will also get some enlightened of the burden, and men really need to come forward, encourage men around you to come forward and talk about these issues, because I always say it's not about helping one person. One person coming forward and telling about their complaints encourages many more people to come forward and discuss what they're feeling right now. Tell me some of the changes that you have seen in people around you or in your family, that something that you said that annoyed your family members and you thought that it was just a normality because you thought this is happening everywhere. Like, I agree that I have sometimes initiated difficult conversations and people in the family were taken aback because, oh, that's not the normality. How is she talking about this? So yes, as I said, there is a generation gap. There are things that you feel cannot be corrected like that. But when you say this day in and day out, I don't need to be like, you should be offensive in this manner, but try and putting your point forward. Let's see this, I am feeling this, and how, what can I do about it? Or like, yes, very frequently we hear these kind of things that, okay, I'm feeling, so what? This is something normal. Like when we talk about anxiety, parents or grandparents, they're usually saying these are new things that have been invented. Pehle ye sab nahi hota tha. No, this used to happen a long time back. It might just be that you weren't very much aware, and yes, the prevalence has increased, no doubt, but the talks around mental health were not there. Previously, people like physically theek ho jaye, wohi bahut hai. Okay, yes, somebody has brought up a very nice point. Now people are more accepting to have a me time. Me time is like a topic for another day. Um, especially with women, I would like to say this kind of thing. You felt that, okay, when you were born, you were taking care of your father, brother, mother in the family. Then you grew up and you were like told to be the ideal daughter who needed to learn to cook, clean, and take care of the family members. Then when you were married and you started serving everybody in the in-laws house, and there was no scope of me time, there were no house helps, all that you were doing was for others. This frequently led to a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, suppressed emotions, and that translated a lot to family and marital problems, like women coming up and saying, I really don't need to feel intimate. I don't just feel like I it's fine. I just make love to my husband whenever he wants to. I don't ever feel like doing that myself. Why? Because she never somewhere got the position of the idea of a wife more. She was more like a helper around the house or a mother to everybody in the family, that she's taking care of everything by herself. She was so exhausted taking care of everyone that sorry, that she somewhere had this like a vacancy in her, that there's no me time. You were not pampering herself a lot. Yes, absolutely. You would never, बहुत सारे factors हैं me time में भी ना. First of all, no house help, so you will not have time. Secondly, there's no concept that you have to take care of yourself. If you are women, you're born, take care of others, and that's all. That is the purpose of life, to please others and work for them. When women started realizing that I am a person, I am not a helper, I can do a lot of things for myself and I deserve it, I am a human first of all. So this also got a lot of change, retaliation from the family members, because families are not accepting of this fact. They always feel that more educated women, more woke women, or who are more aware of these rights don't make good daughter-in-laws. Another topic, yes, that they'll be more demanding of their rights, which people don't feel is a good thing. That why do we don't talk about it? But somehow we don't realize each and everything is related to mental health. If you don't feel that you can change your, if you feel that you can change your mental health without changing your surroundings, that's not possible. You somewhere have to change everything that's going around you, only then. It's just the same like if there's a kid and you keep hitting the kid and you start saying that don't cry, that's not going to happen. You have to change the external factors also. Somebody has rightly commented, interdependent is the need of the hour. And yes, independent from both sides, completely. If both men and women are working, it is their responsibility that they should, and they, if they can, like share the load everywhere. Be it household chores and as well as outdoor chores. Be it finances, if you are both earning enough and capable enough to help around the house, finances, household chores, laundry, cooking, cleaning, basic human skills. Why are we shying around saying that men don't cook? Do we know the best chefs are males? Like, why? This is a very important point somebody brought out of that. I saw this in the movie, I don't remember the name, that when women cook, it's like a duty and responsibility. When men cook, it's like something to be applauded and rewarded for that. Hence, we see all the male head chefs, and women are mostly working at lower paying jobs and just cooking in the home every day. Why? Because society does not want to reward you for that. Another very common mental health myth which we are going to bust right now. Anxiety and depression is in your head. It's not a real thing. Head में ही होगा ना, पैर में, पेट में नहीं होगा. See, there are two things. First of all is brain. Second is the mind. Everything is interrelated. Your brain has a lot of changes which leads you to having depression. Please go back. People who want to know more about this, go back to my channel. There are a lot of videos explaining why these things happen. It's not like there's one complaint happening and you get depressed. There are a lot of factors that come into interplay when a person is diagnosed with clinical disorder, clinical depression, clinical anxiety. It's not like I got one exam bad and I'm having depression. बहुत लंबी लिस्ट है, क्राइटेरिया satisfy होना चाहिए, then you have a clinical depression. Very common solution that people give is it's not a real thing. मंदिर जाओ, पूजा करो, ठीक हो जाएगा. A lot of elders say that because again they feel that this is something that you've just made up. Why do they Imagine saying this for things like physical illness. Oh, you've broken a bone. This is all in your leg. Rest and it will heal itself. That's now how it occurs. We all know that. Similarly, with the mind, it's not something that you're just thinking. Your brain undergoes changes, and that's why its receptor level, its neurotransmitter levels, that causes you to have anxiety and depression. See, we all have anxiety at one or other point in our life. That is a normal response. You have an exam, you have promotions, day-to-day activities, overwhelming work, you can get anxiety. You will feel sad. You will feel happy. You feel excited at one or the other point. These are normal emotions to experience. But if any of the emotion goes beyond a particular set criteria and duration, and it's not letting you work, it's not letting you sleep or having a normal life, then it becomes a clinical disorder. No, it's not good to have stress, not positive or negative. Stress is a thing that I would say it's good to have motivation to work forward. But if you end up, one more thing that our generation has glorified is overworking and burnout. I have myself been like a target or a person contributing to that, because earlier I used to feel that if I am not that tired by end of the night, and if I end of the day and if just not crashing and sleeping, then I'm not worked hard enough. So chronic burnout, if chronically you are stressed, you're having anxiety, everything you're putting in your 100%, you're bound to crash. It's okay to have some off days. Take your off days to yourself so that you feel relieved. Please send me more mental health myths so that I can bust them over here. Please send them in the chat section below. Completely agree. Yes, men are cooking these days. And basic life skill, you should know how to cook, clean, do laundry. Where is this good meme I read it somewhere? Men wrote that women are so much invested in these days talking about and learning how to do makeup. Will they feed makeup to their husbands? And a girl replied to that oh, men are ready to eat makeup but not use their own hands. So that is just a satirical way of saying things. But yes, बेसिक लाइफ स्किल्स हम सबको आने चाहिए. कुकिंग, क्लीनिंग, आप अकेले एटलीस्ट अपने आप को सपोर्ट करने लायक होने चाहिए. बेसिक फाइनेंशियली, emotionally, socially. Okay, very good question. How can this awareness go to rural areas? I have a very interesting thing to tell all of you. We somewhere feel that we are very progressive and modern, especially the socio-culturally, economically, the middle class that we deal with every day. You will be shocked to know how much people in the rural area are aware. I'll give you the reasons why. First of all, they don't feel as stigmatized. Jitna you will see in a tier 2 or tier 3, in a good society, you see people will not visit a psychiatrist that is in their area. They will go to another area. Many a times what you will feel is that people will hide things. What will society say? How will this happen? And they don't get the right treatment. Somewhere or other, especially with severe mental illnesses in rural areas, people are aware that once or twice they will do that jhad poop, they will do magical religious healing. But what will happen after that is that they know that there's a doctor in the town or in the city who can cure this. They don't know your name. They don't know your label, that you are a psychiatrist, or for them, you are just a doctor. They will come to you, they will do the whole treatment right time, and they will go back and tell other 10 people that yes, these things are treatable. You can go to so-and-so doctor and they will treat you. Even in the middle class, so-called modern society, even if a person is taking treatment, they won't go back to 10 of their friends and tell them that, oh, my anxiety got cured and it's just treatable, you should do that too. Because they feel stigmatized that what will my friends say? हमारी स्पेशली हमारे आसपास की सोसाइटी में स्टिग्मा बहुत ज्यादा है, and that is the reason people don't talk about it and they hide things like this. But yes, how can we take this to rural areas? Talk to your house help. बहुत ज्यादा दूर सोचने की जरूरत नहीं है. Start with your home. I am just saying take care of one person, not even taking care, just off and on ask them about how are you feeling. Very common example, if these days you're registering yourself for the vaccination, it gives the option of registering for 3 more people. You can register your house. Very small things will take these things forward and we can help society as a whole. Thank you, Tarini. Very good question. Do you think pandemic has given a rise to mental illnesses? The mental illnesses are at an all-time high and they're just expected to increase. I say this a lot. We never were ready for a health pandemic and you can never be. But we are surely not ready for a mental health pandemic, which has just double, triple the rate of mental illnesses that are happening. But yes, it has also given us a time to make, like, think more about it. When everybody was at home initially, last year, March, do you remember everybody was cooking and making that Dalgona coffee? This used to happen a lot. Why was this happening? Because people as a family never had time this much to stay alone with the family, get this time in the life where they could do anything at all. Secondly, many people came and said it is awkward for us to be with the family. We don't know what to do with them because we have never like lived as a unit. You were going school, parents were going to work. So everybody of us did not have this time to stay together and stay connected and talk to each other. Many families had these complaints. But yes, did give us a time to think about our complaints, like what I can do, what I cannot do, and is there something that we really need to think about and get ourselves analyzed. Anybody has any other mental health myth that I can bust here? Otherwise, I would just like to end on this note and say this again and again. There's no wrong in seeking professional help. See how much your life can improve by just one formal consultation. You will see the difference yourself. Thank you so much, everybody. You sent some amazing questions, and I've loved busting these mental health myths. This is one of the kind of my favorite thing to do when people tell me myths, and I'm like, no, that's wrong. I'll tell you the scientific, logical reasoning behind that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There are a few questions in the question and answer session. They are not myths essentially, but a few people have asked you two questions. I'll read out a few. How to deal with someone if they demean you or don't allow you to speak in any conversation just because of a little age
I think you'll have to be a little bit loud, right? Can't.
Louder?
Yeah.
Am I audible now? Is this better? Is this better now? Okay. So my question was, how do you deal with someone who demeans you and doesn't allow you to speak in any conversation because of a little age difference?
Very common issue. I think a lot of people face this at home also, that whenever I try to talk, I get these queries that whenever I go to talk to my parents and grandparents, and they brush off by saying that these things are not real and they kind of demean you that तुम्हारी जनरेशन ने ये नई नई चीजें बना ली हैं, ये पहले हमारे टाइम में तो नहीं होता था. As I said, a lot of things will not change by doing this. Nobody of us has a magic wand, but what we surely can do is that just start subtly. If you are not in treatment right away, if you don't feel that you need help, if you're just talking about for the sake of creating awareness, introduce these topics little by little in your family, and it's better to involve people of your age first so that you are more in number. Bas majority banane wali baat hai starting mein. A lot of your youngsters, if your cousins, friends, if you can get together and just talk about these issues, then it would be really helpful. Then go about their parents and eventually grandparents. But again, as I said, you can't make them unlearn things that they have learned in 50 years by you are 20-year-old something and telling them something for 5 minutes. That's even if, just imagine it in the same way. If a 5-year-old comes to you and says things and you'll be like, oh, you don't know anything, you're such a stupid child. Normal response that you feel I'm older and I'm wiser. So imagine how much they have fixed notions and believe when they're 50, 60 years old. But basic things, I would say, if you are privileged enough and a major, that is a person who's 18 years and above, and if you really feel something somewhere is wrong, your pocket allows, please seek professional help. Due to COVID, a lot of doctors are on telehealth and you can consult them at the comfort of your home. And many doctors, including myself, are providing it at very reasonable rate with the medication and therapy both. Have a look out on such thing if you are in need for help. if you are an adult, we don't need consent from any other member in your family to start your treatment. But just for the awareness sake, I would say go little by little. Start talking about something that are very basic like anxiety, which they are hearing in news also. And have you seen them grimacing, like making such faces when they hear about such things in the news that पता नहीं क्या क्या दिखाते रहते हैं आजकल टीवी पे. सब बच्चों का दिमाग खराब कर दिया इन्होंने ऐसी ऐसी चीजें सिखा सिखा के. So yes, it is going to take time, but then again, to change the whole world is somewhere not on your shoulders. You can change one person, and that is you yourself. That's why I said be more accepting also, not just more giving. That if anybody else is coming to you with complaint, you also have to be more accepting. You just can't expect that I'll just tell all my complaints and the other person just understands. Little by little, it's baby steps, one step at a time. Start by introducing lighter topics, start by talking about very basic things around the household, like mom's cooking, why are you ordering her? Very small but yet very powerful conversation. That उठ के अपनी प्लेट लगा सकते हो यार, इतना वो कोई बड़ा काम नहीं है. एक ग्लास पानी का आप ले सकते हैं. वो थोड़ा एक पेट्रियार्कल सिस्टम थोड़ा थोड़ा चेंज करने में टाइम लगेगा, बट ईच एंड एवरीथिंग, imagine if our parents change a lot of things at our grandparents did. Imagine if we change the narrative forward, we are building a more better, safer, happier future for the next generation.
Changing the narrative at this point in time is the need of the hour. Since our audience is a bunch of young psychology enthusiasts, a lot of us have this question on self-care tips. So we all, find ourselves in situations where we are usually overwhelmed with, it can be academic related stress, or it can be something in our personal lives. So we always need to find ways in which we can take care of ourselves. And a lot of them are wondering if you had something to share on the same.
I'll just take both of these questions together, one of from the comment section also. That seeing negative news affects our mind, and does it create anxiety? So yes, with the younger generation, I understand you guys are not going to colleges. You have the study from home kind of situation, and you feel that every day you are just stuck at home and there's nothing to do, nowhere to go. And this constant fear of in the mind that what will happen? What if my exams get cancelled? What if I don't get a job? What if I don't complete my training? So yes, there is a lot of anticipatory anxiety that is happening about how, when, where, what that is happening in your minds right now. Believe me, it's somewhere normal to feel such kind of emotions. In the past 1.5 months, because of being frontline in the COVID, I have experienced same things every day, and it's absolutely fine to experience them at this time. That's why what I said is sadness, anxiety, happiness, these are normal emotions. You will feel them at one point or another. But if they are persisting beyond one particular point, you need to seek the right treatment at the right time. Moreover, our basis for this pandemic is survival, not excelling it. Just survive the pandemic. If people you have not gone out, you will not realize that if at this time you have a roof over your head, you have food to eat, and you have all the members in your family, how privileged and lucky you are. This is such a big deal right now. Might be like sabke saath hota hai. Believe me, when you go out after this pandemic, you'll realize sabke paas ye sab kuch nahi hota. Even a very, very well-to-do people lost a lot of things in this pandemic. Somewhere or others, do some grounding techniques, which I'm sure a lot of psychology students are already aware with. Journaling is very, very basic technique that I advise to a lot of people. If you're comfortable with that, do start journaling. It's for yourself also, not just for your clients and patients. Whenever you get time, seek some kind of soothing activities for yourself. And yes, psychology is a very, very booming branch and is 100% going to pay well, both economically and satisfactory level also in future, because unfortunately we're going to see a lot of mental health issues, and we need a good army of good, well-trained psychologists to deal with that.
That we are at the end of our question and answer session. I'm sure you had a very busy schedule, and the fact that you were able to still put in 45 minutes of your time with us, explaining to us, debunking our own misconceptions about mental health as budding mental health professionals. I think it was something that was a very, very important task that you undertook. And I'm very grateful for your effort and your kind work that you've been doing in the field. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I always say I learn so much from each and everybody I meet every day. Even your patients teach you, even you do these live videos, you always learn something. And it warms my heart every day to see young girls, young professionals like you working on this cause, because every day go back yourself and see, was I that aware at that age? You will get this answer, no. Even for girls like you, when you are at 10, 21, you talk to a 15-year-old and you will feel, my God, she's so aware, I'm not. So that is not something to be worried about. That makes me so happy that people are so aware these days. And hopefully we can take this awareness forward. A 5-year-old, 6-year-old, we are trying to do that. We are trying to teach them boundaries. We are trying to teach them how to say no. So
Correct.
from here, just make things forward.
Yes, ma'am. And as a token of our love and appreciation, I'd like the tech team to present to you with an e-certificate at this point. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Okay, take care, everybody. Stay home, stay safe, and get vaccinated. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.